Hi, I'm Stephen Hawley Martin, author of the book Enlightenment and Peace Can Be Yours Today. Prosperity will take a little longer. If you'd like to read the book, you'll find a link in the description below this video. But let me ask you, would you like to be enlightened? If you're ready, it's a state of consciousness that's really not all that difficult to achieve. Let me read what Deepak Chopra said about enlightenment. He said that according to the Veranda, there are only two symptoms of enlightenment, just two indications that a transformation is taking place within you toward a higher consciousness. The first symptom is that you stop worrying. Things don't bother you anymore. You become lighthearted and full of joy. The second symptom is that you encounter more and more meaningful coincidences in your life, more and more synchronicities. And this accelerates to the point where you actually experience the miraculous. Interesting, isn't it? And compelling. I think Deepak was right on. You know, the Buddha said nirvana, or what I call enlightenment, is a state free of suffering and desire. No doubt exists in my mind that Jesus attempted to communicate the same thing. Now, I know that some people will be turned off by a reference to Jesus. They have a beef with Christianity for one reason or other, and I understand that, but I believe Jesus was an enlightened being, and that he was misunderstood not only by the people of his day, but by most Christians alive today. His goal was to lead people to enlightenment, and he called it the kingdom of God. And at other times he called it the kingdom of heaven. Christianity, however, has gotten it wrong. Most Christians unanimously misunderstand what he was talking about, believing that Jesus was referring to something that would happen in the future. That someday God would reign as king over a kingdom on earth. And many people continue to believe that this will happen eventually, sort of the fulfillment of God's will on earth. But it's clear to me that that is not what Jesus had in mind. If it were, he would not have said in Matthew 18:3, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." And he wouldn't have said what he said in Luke 17:21. No one will say, "Look, there it is," or "Look, here it is," because the kingdom of heaven is within you. Based on these and many other quotes, the kingdom of heaven that Jesus referred to is not a place. It is not something that will happen in the future. It's a state of mind, just as nirvana is a state of mind. And the truth is, the kingdom of heaven and nirvana are one and the same. They are labels for a state of consciousness that anyone willing can enter into. And in the 21st century, we call it enlightenment. It is a state that you can enter today. As Jesus advised, the way to attain enlightenment is to become like a little child, a 2-year-old toddler. Why? A toddler has no preconceived notions about how the world should work, or how things should be, or how someone should behave. He or she has not experienced trauma or prejudice, which may have led someone to the false belief that the world is an evil place, or that he or she is inferior in some way. A toddler does not confuse what he or she sees with so-called facts taught in the school. She does not know that the sun is at the center of the solar system, or that water is 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen. As Jesus said in John 3:3, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God." Well, to be born again is to start over and become like a small child. Therefore, to achieve enlightenment, You must set aside all knowledge and beliefs, and perhaps most difficult, but also most important, lose or circumvent the ego. Why? Because the ego constantly reinforces false beliefs about the self. Let me tell you something you need to know. No matter your background, race, or circumstances, the real you is perfect. And you must come to realize that, to learn to love yourself and understand that you do not need anything beyond yourself to be content. You see, you are all that is. Nothing actually exists beyond yourself. To think otherwise is to be caught in the illusion of separation that's created by the ego. This causes you to see the world and what's happening in terms of how it fits or doesn't fit the ego's emotional needs. In Eastern thought, this is known as Maya, which is the antithesis of enlightenment. It comes about because the ego causes us to think we are separate entities, that reality is out there, and it's not. To restate the obvious, an ego is something you have that a little child does not. You have one because it developed and formed as you grew into an adult. A child views the world from the viewpoint of the silent observer, the spark of divinity that connects each of us to the source. You viewed the world this way when you first popped out of your mother's womb and opened your eyes for the first time. You continued in that state for quite some time until eventually it faded away because your mind and your ego started getting in the way. William Wordsworth, who lived from 1770 to 1850, wrote about this in his famous poem, Ode, Imitations of Immortality, from Recollections of Early Childhood. Let me read the first stanza. There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth and every common sight, to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream. It is not now as it hath been of yore. Turn whereso I may, the night or day, the things which I have seen, I now can see no more. Wordsworth was lamenting that he no longer saw the world through the eyes of a child. He had lost the sense of peace and wonder he once felt. The kingdom of heaven, also known as nirvana, had become out of reach. He did not know why, but now you do. To repeat what I've already said, his ego and his mind got in the way. All this is not to say the ego is a bad thing or that it should never have been allowed to happen in the first place. The development of ego was necessary, a necessary step in the evolution of the human species, because egos are what cause us to feel autonomous, and this is what gives us free will. The emergence of the ego in free will is what the allegory of Adam and Eve is about. By eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, Adam and Eve became fully fledged human beings. It gave them the ability to think objectively, to figuratively step outside themselves and observe their own behavior. It brought them into the world of duality. Before the snake, which I believe is a metaphor for the ego, before the ego talked them into taking a bite of the apple, they were like every other creature in the garden, or forest, or jungle. They were non-dual creatures, guided solely by instinct, who walked and communed with God in the cool of the evening. It seems likely the Source wants us to have free will because he experiences himself through us. And free will allows us to choose to do all kinds of things, good and also bad, which in turn allows the Source to experience a wide variety of activities and adventures, and this in turn allows him to to come to know himself, because, God is good and God is love. One cannot know good without bad. One can't know love without fear, just as one cannot know up without down or black without white. I suspect God also wants us to choose to be with him and to experience him without having been coerced. Just as you would choose to have your spouse choose you because she or he is the one you want. But for all the good the ego does, it also causes psychological suffering, because it is the part of our mind that worries. It's what keeps us awake at night. And if that's an issue for you, I'm sure you'd like to get rid of it and have a really good night's sleep for a change. Worry was an important mechanism in the prehistoric times. If a person didn't worry about where the next meal was coming from, or how to keep from freezing to death, or how to avoid getting eaten by a lion, he or she would probably not live long enough to reproduce and propagate the species. Suffering, it has been said, is the catalyst of evolution, because we learn to evolve by facing and dealing with difficulties. Without hardship, there would be no incentive to advance, to overcome situations. And without suffering and sorrow, we would not be able to develop compassion for others. Our egos also create the illusion that we are separate from everyone and everything, which can cause us to become barbaric and hostile toward others. But as we evolve, at some point we eventually learn the lessons of love and understanding, and we begin to remember that we are actually eternal beings having a temporary physical experience. When that happens, we start to realize that egotistical thinking can be counterproductive, and that doing unto others as we would have others do unto us is the best and most productive way to live one's life. Because you're watching this video, I suspect that you have reached or soon will reach that state, which means it's time for you to transcend your ego and see it for what it is, a worry machine that has outlived its usefulness. It's time to return to the non-dual world, which is the true nature of reality. This is what Jesus was talking about when he said in Matthew 25 through 27, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?" In order to stop paying so much attention to your ego, it's important to understand that the ego is not you. You are not your thoughts, and you are not your memories. The ego can be compared to a computer program that has been built up over the course of your life. Survival is its job, which is the reason it constantly causes you to waste time worrying. Like Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, it often makes sense to wait until tomorrow to think about whatever potential problem may have come to mind today. The ego is also what causes you to react, often in ways and situations that you would rather not. For example, suppose someone insults you. You may have the impulse to lash out, but the fact of the matter is you don't have to. You can ignore what they say if you want, or you can turn the other cheek if you want, because a moment exists between stimulus and response when the real you can decide what to do. You can choose what to say and how to feel and how to react, because the ego is not you. The real you, your authentic self, is a spark of the divine. Your true self is not your ego, and it's not your body. It is pure consciousness, the same stuff that underlies, supports, and indeed creates the universe, which is an understanding that many researchers and students of quantum mechanics are coming to understand. Once you get in touch with and live your life from the standpoint of your true self, you will have achieved enlightenment, and you will live in peace and be free from suffering and desire. This will not require learning reams of information about spiritual matters and metaphysics. It will simply require setting aside the ego and realizing that you and God are one, like peas in a pod. This is what Jesus knew and what he tried to communicate to everyone who would listen. You can become enlightened today. All you have to do is put the ego aside and view the world like a little child. View it from that part of you that is the silent observer, the part of you that says, I am. And this is often accomplished through meditation. When meditating, ego thoughts are pushed away, ignored, or simply observed as irrelevant, or sometimes even amusing BS, because the real you, the silent observer, doesn't have to believe anything the ego says. If you do not engage in meditation, I suggest you give it a try. Go on YouTube and find some videos that give instruction about how it's done. And if you do meditate for a while, it may become a habit you look forward to. Do it once or twice a day for 10 minutes or maybe half an hour. And after a while, you'll look forward to that time. And something else. Depending on your upbringing, it may be necessary to jettison old baggage that's stored in the attic of your subconscious mind, because it may be holding you back and causing you to react and behave in unproductive ways. Techniques intended to assist you in doing so, along with much more detail about everything I've said in the video today, are contained in my book, Enlightenment and Peace Can Be Yours Today. Prosperity may take a little longer. As I said earlier, a link to the book's page on Amazon is in the description below this video. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you found this video useful.